Call Ripley's. They're never going to believe this.
Breaking news, this out of Beirut, Lebanon, where at least 70 people have been killed in a massive explosion, 3,500 others injured.
The blast flattening the city's port and destroying buildings. And Eyewitness News.
The capital, Beirut, has been hit by a massive explosion. Dozens of people are said to be injured, and there are some reports of people trapped under the rubble. The cause of the blast is not yet known.
It's my firm belief everything that's happening is being done on purpose to play out according to the government's agenda, the government's plan. For those of you out there that might believe that I'm some sort of whack job conspiracy theorist, think again. There's a document, a PDF, as a matter of fact, that I've shared more than once on my Facebook, telling people what the government's plan is. This whole pandemic, the mandatory wearing of face masks, and even in the future, temperature checks at communal spaces like airports and train stations. You might think that these things are not connected. I caution you to think again. Because how many accidents do we see these days when it comes to what the government does? When the government decides they're going to impose some new rule on us, where do you think that comes from? Case in point, the 9/11 terrorist attacks. The government is just getting us warmed up to the idea of seeing these types of things on the media. We've seen cities burn on the mainstream media. We've seen our whole entire economy collapse on the mainstream media. And it's all because of what the government has done. When the government tells us that they're going to keep us safe, they're going to keep this economy alive with more stimulus, everything the government does makes it worse. They need to be in control of everything. Everything in your life, in my life, it's their plan to control it. Let me go back to the 9/11 attacks for a moment. As soon as the 9/11 attacks played out, we had the Patriot Act put into place and enacted within a matter of 4 hours. Now, forgive me, but I don't think any lawyer in my life has ever worked that fast to come up with a new law to put into place that would give governments more totalitarian and authoritative control over our bank accounts. You'll notice that that never actually came off. You'll notice that instead of the TSA going away, they've actually ramped things up even more over time. But yet, we haven't seen any terrorist attacks. Federal Reserve, Cash Carey, he said that we need to have a hard lockdown to combat this virus, this pandemic. My question to all of you out there tuning in is, how can you expect somebody that sets monetary policy or is in that line of work to be speaking on matters such as pandemic control? Where does his basis for saying these things come from is my question. If this is a legitimate threat to the people, then why is it that no essential workers out there are getting sick and dying at record numbers? How come they're not dying? If this is so deadly and it's so infectious, where are all the cases? I've left my house every single day since I've gotten down here to Texas in February, and so far this is one of the worst hit states apparently, but I haven't gotten sick. Please, somebody out there explain that to me. How come I've never met anybody that's gotten sick? The world is already in a bad place as it is. It's just going to get worse. The reason it's going to get worse is because the people that we've trusted to be in charge of our monetary system, of our economy, to think that they know what they're doing, it turns out they really don't know what they're doing. And if they do, They're hurting us on purpose. So what's worse, an accident or finding out that they did this to you on purpose? That's really something for you guys out there to think about. I urge everybody tuning in today to take a moment, step back, and analyze your own situation. Are you going to be okay tomorrow if something like that happens here in the United States? You could be anywhere when this happens, and it could still affect you, even if you're on the other side of the earth. The butterfly effect. We've noticed throughout history that every time we entrust our governments to do the right thing, it's a 100% success rate that they will not do the right thing. Every single time in history. For those of you out there that might work for the government, you should really rethink your position in life. What's your purpose as a human being? Is it to impose more rules and restrictions, inflict pain on others, take away from others? We're supposed to live in a free country, but that's the furthest thing from the truth. We have to register for everything that we do, pay taxes for everything that we do. Now we have taxes for every single thing under the sun. So as this pandemic continues to get worse, I've noticed from my own personal situation that even though I live in Texas, the state of Massachusetts doesn't want to let their hooks out of me. Why is that, do you think? Because I'm another source of income for the state. You can be prepared, but you know what? There's always going to be something that comes out of left field that you were not expecting. That's just part of life. For those of you out there that want to tell people, don't prepare, the government's going to fix everything, I got to ask, have you ever read a history book? Have you ever seen things happen to people unjustly? Because if you haven't, then you really need to wake up at this point, because there's going to come a time when you're not going to have a choice but to wake up. There might come a time when your stimulus check no longer arrives, when your government no longer helps you out, even though they're not even doing that right now. But this is how brainwashed they've gotten people to think that we should be grateful that they're doing this for us. You know, that's how bad things have gotten, where people's perception of lies and truth has been completely reversed. We now live in a world where bad is good and good is considered bad. I just want you to reevaluate your situation. What can happen tomorrow in the blink of an eye, at a moment's notice? You can't expect the unexpected. That's the entire reason that it's unexpected, because you're not expecting it. Something like this is a good example. 9/11 was a good example. But it usually comes with strings attached. In every case, there's always some sort of rule or law that's put into place to impose more restrictions and restraint upon the citizens. You need to keep a close eye on this, on what's going on. Because while you're staying at home, collecting that check, thinking that life is good, there's going to come a time, there's going to come a day when life isn't good. When the world you thought existed no longer exists. Where your freedoms and your rights are completely stripped away because of a long, drawn-out plan that's taken place over time at the government's hand and at our expense, the taxpayer. We pay taxes into a system for the system to have more domination and control over its people, unjustly. Most of our tax dollars, most of the money that we pay into this system, we're told that it's going back to the people. Why does the United States dole out more war and debt than anything else? Tell me what the United States manufactures more than debt or war. So that should just tell you the world that we live in today. The world does need a reset. If that's what it takes for people to wake up, then that's what it takes. Unfortunately, a lot of people are plugged into the matrix right now, and they think that their vote counts, Everything's going to be fine. Things are going to bounce back. The economy's going to be booming, but it's not. Have you seen it yet? What evidence do you have that would suggest that? Oh, the stock market's at all-time highs. Oh, that's great. Well, the reason for that, if you want to know the truth, for those of you that are allergic to truth out there, I urge you to close this video and don't come back to my channel, because you're going to get a dose of the truth. The truth is, the Federal Reserve prints money into existence. They destroy our purchasing power. Why would they do that if they cared about us? They play these things out over time. You put a frog into a pot of cold water, he'll just sit there. If you put a frog into a boiling pot of water, he's going to immediately jump right out, because he knows that something is wrong. So what the government has done, metaphorically speaking, instead of just throwing its citizens directly into the pot of boiling hot water, what they've done is they've slowly over time conditioned us, turn up the heat in small increments, just to the point where not too many people ask questions. People say, oh, it's uncomfortable, but I can manage. Then there's going to come a time when people can't manage. Half the country is out of work, so they're not managing. They can't even manage to put food in their stomach, let alone pay their mortgage. This is exactly what's happened to us in the United States, is we've lost so much. We've pretty much lost everything here. This is how bad and corrupt the system has gotten. Even the people working inside the system are saying how messed up it is. It's in the government's best interest to continue this Ponzi scheme for as long as possible. When that starts cracking at the seams, that's when we have people like the one working at the Federal Reserve telling us that we need to have a hard lockdown, meaning enforced lockdown, for things to get better. Meanwhile, this person has absolutely no place on this earth speaking about such topics when his role is to dole out monetary policy. That's where my confusion comes in, is why is a man that talks primarily about fiscal policy now speaking about a pandemic? Where is his credentials? He's not a doctor. If you want my honest opinion, the only doctor I trust is Dr. Ron Paul, because he's an actual doctor and he's a politician. He's been telling people that this was going to happen years ago. So either he knew something that these people didn't know, or they were just naive to the facts, or they're doing it on purpose. Every day it becomes more and more clear to me personally that everything that's happening is being done on purpose. If you guys want some proof and evidence on that, I urge you to go down to the video description. I'm going to leave a link to my Facebook page. On my timeline, you'll be able to find scenarios for the future development of technology and international development. This was written by the Rockefeller Foundation in May of 2010. They pretty much told us about everything that we're witnessing today. Mandatory wearing of face masks, temperature checks at communal spaces like airports and train stations. I've started seeing people do that at different businesses now, where they'll go around with a thermometer and check people's temperature while they're working right in front of you. It's insane. I mean, I don't even know what to say. That's how crazy this has gotten. You can't even go to work anymore and be left alone to do your job and be trusted that you're going to do it right. Now you got people on your back, taking your temperature, following you around. What I've seen more and more is people without a purpose. I've said this in my previous videos, and you're starting to see even more of that. People without a purpose. Eventually, this is going to kick off something that unlike anything we've ever seen. I believe, and maybe I am a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist. I don't know. I'll let you be the judge of that. But I think that we're going to see more and more things like this happen. These bombs getting set off. I don't know if it was an accident. All I can really do is speculate. My gut is telling me I know better than to believe that it's an accident. Accidents of this magnitude don't just happen, okay? They don't just happen the way that they did. Not like this. It's my belief that the mainstream media is getting us warmed up to the idea of getting used to the fact that we're going to see more and more things like this happening around the world, globally. I don't think it's coming at the hands of its citizens. I think it's coming more at the hands of government parties that can never get along. I think they'll do anything in their power, right down to terrorist attacks, to take your focus off of what they're doing, off of what the Federal Reserve has been doing. The Federal Reserve will never admit to any wrongdoing. Same thing with politicians and congressmen. If you're wrong about something, admit it. People will have respect for you. Right now, nobody has respect for any of these people. You're being told to do something, while at the same time, they're not following their own goddamn rules. So why should you? What makes them any better than you? Nothing. Because of some decree, some law, some executive order says so? Just because they somehow have more money than you? As they're destroying your purchasing power, you're supposed to follow their rules? The reason behind my video today is not to make you think I'm some sort of whack job conspiracy theorist or anything like that. I can only speculate, but I haven't been wrong yet about the government, and I'm sure as hell thinking they're not going to let me down anytime soon. You need to stay awake, you need to be prepared, and you need to be diligent in what you do on a daily basis, because there could come a time like this, at the least unexpected moment, something crazy can happen, and you wouldn't get even a warning, not even a hint of a warning that it was going to happen. Guys, this is Felonious Bitcoin here. I'm going to leave my Facebook page down in the video description. I urge you guys to go and check that out, because it does outline everything that we're witnessing today, right down to the pandemic, right down to the wearing of face masks, down to temperature checks, down to ever-increasing government authority over its citizens, as well as terrorist attacks. Page 18, it's called Lockstep. I'm going to leave a link to my Facebook page. If you want, you're more than welcome to add me as a friend. If not, just go and check it out. I'm going to leave it open to the public so everyone can see it. In the meantime, please, if you like my content, like this video, subscribe, and comment down below. Let everybody else know how you're doing. I'm interested to know as well. So guys, take care of yourselves, and God bless.